Hello everyone, warm welcome to Regulatory Bodies YouTube channel by Testbook. My name is Madhav. I welcome you all in your favorite session, that is Finance Current Affairs. So in this particular session, we will be discussing the most important current affairs for second as well as 3rd of June, and I promise you guys in today's session you are going to find, as always, the news which are capable to be asked not only in phase 1 but also in phase 2, not only in objective format but also in the descriptive format. As I always do, in the end of this session I'll give you the descriptive question which can be asked from the news which we are going to cover in this particular session. So before I start the discussion, may I have a reply in the comment section that I'm audible, visible, everything is fine, we are good to go. Just give me yes sir so that we can begin the discussion without any further delay. May I have a reply in the comment section, everyone, that everything is fine, we are good to go, so that we can begin the discussion without any further delay. But before I move ahead, I have one more important information to share with you all, guys. The information is this Sunday we will be covering second part of our annual report, that will be annual report part 2, and I'm pretty sure you are going to enjoy the report as you have enjoyed, as you have loved the part 1. So why I'm giving you the gap? The gap is basically given to you so that you can cover the annual report in a span of 1 week appropriately, ताकि जो अगले 3 weeks में ये report complete हो. So on the completion of 3 weeks you will be in a position not only to give a comment that I have covered this report, but you will be saying to everyone कि मेरी report done हो चुकी है. If any question will be asked in this in the upcoming examination from this report, I will be in a position to answer it for sure. ठीक है जी, स्टार्ट करें बिना किसी देरी के. तो आइए जरा आज के सेशन की शुरुआत करते हैं. जैसा कि आप जानते हैं कि इस सेशन की जो पीडीएफ है वो आपको अवेलेबल हो जाएगी मेरे टेलीग्राम चैनल पर. आप इस चैनल को ज्वाइन कर लीजिए. द क्यूआर कोड इज नाउ विजिबल ऑन द स्क्रीन इटसेल्फ. सो हियर वी गो विद द फर्स्ट न्यूज. पहली न्यूज काफी इंपॉर्टेंट न्यूज है एंड आई विल स्टार्ट माय डिस्कशन विद द फर्स्ट न्यूज इटसेल्फ. सो इफ यू ऑल आर रेडी, वी आर गुड टू गो. लेट्स बिगिन. Prachi, from next session onwards, I'll start providing the revision part for sure. ठीक है जी, from next session onwards, you will find the revision part as well. ठीक, if you are loving it, obviously I'll provide it. मुझे ऐसा लगा कि शायद रिवीजन सेशन की वजह से काफी ज्यादा लेंदी हो रहा है, तो मुझे लगा कि क्यों ना उसे हटा दिया जाए. बट इफ यू थिंक दैट इज हेल्पफुल फॉर यू, आई विल बी स्टार्टिंग इट अगेन, डोंट वरी. चलो जी, here we go with the first news. So the first news we have is that is related to निवेश शिविर. Before I give you the answer कि ये निवेश शिविर का क्या मतलब है, if I translate it into English, निवेशक basically means, निवेश means investment. निवेश means investment and निवेशक basically means investor. शिविर basically means a camp, basically to help the investors. So in order to help the investors, in order to resolve the issues of the investor, SEBI along with IEPFA has launched first Niveshak Shivir yani ki investor camp, which has been launched by IEPFA as well as SEBI. Now the first question which is going to strike your mind is, so what do you mean by the term IEPFA? This is very important term, please pay attention. Guys, IEPFA stands for investor. IEPFA stands for investor education and protection fund. Investor education and protection fund. So this is IEPF. If I talk about A, sir, it becomes authority. It becomes what? Sir, it becomes authority. So basically IEPFA is what? मुझे अगर कोई पूछेगा what is IEPFA, I will reply in this format that IEPFA is an organization which is operating under Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and this organization is responsible to manage IEPF. What is this IEPF? Sir, it stands for Investor Education and Protection Fund. Now you must be wondering that, what is the role of this particular authority? We call this authority as IEPFA. how we are going to define this particular authority, then my answer to this particular question is, so this authority has been set up by the government, or I would say it's a central government authority which is operating under Ministry of Corporate Affairs, under the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. But the main point which you need to remember, which you need to understand is, so this authority was basically set up to handle, to administer Investor Education Protection Fund. Now you must be worried that, sir, what is this Investor Education Awareness Fund? Please pay attention on the screen to understand this point. So this IEPF, this is Investor Education Protection Fund. It is the fund which include the refunds, or which include the unclaimed dividend. It include the unclaimed shares, unclaimed dividend, unclaimed shares. They all are included into this particular fund, into this particular account. But before I discuss what is this account all about, before talking about in this particular format, let's first discuss the news. Then I'll come back to a term, that is what is unclaimed dividend. I'll make you understand what is unclaimed share. After discussing unclaimed dividend and share, then I'll again come back and discuss with you what is IEPF. That will be more promising, that will be more clear to everyone. ठीक है जी? Now, here we go with the first point. The first point says Investor Education and Protection Fund Authority, which is operating under the Ministry of Corporate Affairs in partnership with the Regulator of Capital Market, that is SEBI, has launched the first edition of investor campaign, or investor camp, which we can call it as Niveshak Shivir. This is the first edition of the Niveshak Shivir, and this Shivir was set up where? So it has been set up in Pune, Maharashtra. It has been set up in Pune, Maharashtra. Now the question is, so this Niveshak Shivir is what? So it is a part of IEPFA mission to empower investors and bolster the financial literacy. So in order to empower the investors, in order to empower the investors, as well as to bold, or as well as to push or to increase the financial literacy among the public, this particular authority is operating, this particular authority is taking up all the required steps. So under the same condition, under the same agenda, this Niveshak Shivir has been launched in collaboration with SEBI, and it was launched where? So it was launched in Pune, Maharashtra. What were the key highlights of this particular camp? If I talk about the key highlights, the first one is, so as I said, it aligns with the ultimate goal, ultimate objective, ultimate aim of IEPFA, that is to widen the investor outreach initiatives. That means the investors, the information with the investors should increase. Investors become more financially literate so that they can invest in an appropriate manner, which will undoubtedly increase the confidence of the investor, and the moment the confidence of the investor will increase, that will result in increase in investment in the share market, or investment in the capital as well as money market, as well as was conceptualized to guide investors in resolving pending issues. So first is, we will provide you with the financial literacy, we will provide you with the financial information which you need if you want to become a good investor. But along with that, if you have any problem, if you have any pending issues related to unclaimed dividend, related to unclaimed shares, or any other grievance, that grievance can also be redressed over this particular Shivir, in this particular camp itself. Now, before I move ahead, I would love to discuss with you what is unclaimed dividend. What is unclaimed dividend? See, first of all, what is dividend, guys? We all know that when a company earns profit, I hope you know this entire format. First, we talk about the company's total sale, that is the company's total revenue. From the total revenue, we subtract the cost of goods sold, we reach to a term that is gross profit. From gross profit, we subtract the operational expenditure, and we reach to a point which we call it as operational profit, and even it is termed as earning before tax, interest, depreciation and amortization. The moment you subtract interest, the moment you subtract depreciation, the moment you subtract amortization, you reach to a term that is known as earning before tax. Now you pay the corporate tax and you reach to a term which is known as earning after tax. We also call it as net profit. Now this net profit is distributed to the shareholders, and the amount which a shareholder receive out of the net profit corresponding to the shareholding of the shareholder. For example, if I am a 10% shareholder of the company, then obviously I will be receiving 10% of the net profit if company is distributing the 100% value of the net profit. So that is my dividend. But if this dividend is announced by the government, if this dividend is announced by the government, this dividend is paid to the shareholders, but being the shareholder of the company, let's say my name is Madhav, I am the shareholder of the company, but I haven't received dividend, then that will be termed as unclaimed dividend. Now the question is, unclaimed, or even we can say uncashed dividend, how we define them. So unclaimed dividend is basically the payout from the company that was declared, but it has never received by the shareholder. And what could be the reason why you have not received your dividend? So the first reason is you might have changed your address, because of which your contact details were not up to date. Second could be you have given the old or invalid bank account details, so where they will credit the dividend amount was not able to credit it. Death of the shareholder, because of which shareholder has never ever claimed the dividend. Even I purchased a share of a company, Infosys, let's say, and initially the dividend was very low. So in the initial days, I have ignored or neglected the dividend value because it was pretty low. But over the period of time, the amount which was minor at first, it has accumulated over the period of time, and it can turn into a substantial amount. If not claimed, then it will be termed as unclaimed. It will be termed as unclaimed dividend. Now, this unclaimed, this uncashed dividend remains with the company for 7 years. But if no dividend is claimed for 7 years, then after 7 years, this unclaimed dividend will be transferred to an account, and we call that account as IEPF, which stands for Investor Education Protection Fund. So in this account, this amount is credited, and this amount is basically utilized for empowerment of the investors, for increasing the financial literacy, to the public. So this is how this account is going to be utilized, and this account is maintained under Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Now I have a point over here. अगर आपको याद हो, जब आपका deposit with the bank remains unclaimed, so we call the deposit as unclaimed deposit. If you have not used that account for 10 years, so after 10 years the account will be declared as unclaimed deposit, and that unclaimed deposit is credited into DEF, which is maintained by RBI, that is Depositors Education Awareness Fund. But in case of SEBI, this type of account is not maintained by SEBI, rather it is maintained by government directly under the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and the name of this particular account is IEPF, which stands for what? Sir, it stands for Investor Education and Protection Fund. समझ आया? Is this point clear? Aniruddha, today I will be forwarding the PDF just after the class itself. Don't worry. Saurav, I will be start providing the handwritten notes very soon. Don't worry, I'm working on it. ठीक है, यहाँ तक clear हो गया what is unclaimed dividend? If the moment you are clear with the term unclaimed dividend, then there is a question in my mind that says, what is unclaimed share? What is unclaimed shares? So if someone asks you what are unclaimed shares, then what will be my answer to this particular question? How you are going to define the unclaimed share? Any idea? Guys? डिविडेंड क्या होता है वो तो मैंने आपको बता दिया. I would request you to understand this point as well. So unclaimed shares refers to the shares for which the shareholder for various reasons has not claimed the associated dividend or other benefits for a certain period of time, typically 7 years. So what are unclaimed shares? Or unclaimed shares are those shares against which you have not claimed your dividend for 7 years. Then after 7 years, those shares will be termed as unclaimed shares, and those dividends that dividend will be termed as unclaimed dividend. Is this point clear? Is it clear? Chalo. Now coming back to the point. Now what is the news we were talking about? So the news says that SEBI, in collaboration with IEPF, has initiated a camp. We call it as Investors Camp, and this Investors Camp is basically an initiative of IEPFA, which is an organization which is working really very hard for increasing the financial literacy, empowering the investors, as well as making the share market or the capital market or the financial market accessible to the public. Even this particular camp is also resolving the public grievances, public complaints, as well as the public issues related to unclaimed dividend as well as unclaimed shares. Now you know what is unclaimed dividend as well as unclaimed shares. If I talk about some of the updates related to this particular camp, so almost 450 claimants. Claimants means the one who are approaching and raising the request of claim, raising the request of demand. Claim against what? So claim against unclaimed dividend, claim against unclaimed shares. So around 450 claimants, they participated in the events, and there were a number of services which were provided to them on nominal charges, on nominal cost. So search facility was made available. So in this particular event, there was a search facility which was made available at the event, which allowed the participants to quickly check if they or any other or any of their family members had any unclaimed shares or dividend. So with the help of the database, you can search with the help of PAN, that is permanent account number, that if you have any unclaimed dividend on your name or your family member's name, so that you are aware of that unclaimed dividend, and then you can go through with you can follow the required procedure in order to recover that particular claim. Sir, is it possible to recover the claim? Yes, sir. The moment your account or your dividend is declared as IEPF, that means your claim is transferred into the IEPF, then in that particular case you raise a request, and the moment you raise a request, the funds will be credited into your account. I'll discuss this, give me few more minutes. In this event, there was one more initiative which was taken, which I want to discuss over here, that is National Security Depository Limited. National Securities Depository Limited has issued a special brochure, that is Investor Guide to Claiming Unclaimed Shares and Dividends. So this particular brochure was also launched. This brochure outlines whole claim process. It highlights the key documents like PAN, Aadhaar or entitlement letter. In simple terms, also provide the guidance for avoiding common reasons for claim rejection. So not only this, that they are not only helping you in that particular camp to raise the complaint, to raise your claim, but also they are providing you with the brochure which helps you to raise the complaint in the near future whenever required. Is this point clear till this part? If you have any doubt till this point, you may ask, please. If you have any doubt till this point, you may ask, please. Otherwise, I'll move on to the next term. And my next term is IEPF. My next term is IEPFA, that is Investor Education and Protection Fund. Chalo, that means no doubt. Fine. Chalo, let's move ahead. So if someone asks me, guys, what is this IEPFA? As I started, for the administration of Investor Education and Protection Fund of Government of India, on 7th of September 2016, yes, Investor Education and Protection Fund Authority was established under section 125, under section 125 of Companies Act 2013. So this particular authority has given the responsibility of managing Investor Education and Protection Fund. This agency is responsible to make the refunds of shares, refunds of unclaimed dividend, refunds of matured deposits or matured debentures to the investors, and to promote awareness among the investors itself. Now the question is, so this particular amount which is credited into IEPF, how this amount is utilized? So the refund which is received against the unclaimed dividend, against the matured debentures, against the unclaimed shares, the applicant money which is due for refund is being credited into this particular account. So the amount which is credited in this particular account will be utilized for the promotion of investors' education, as well as increasing the awareness among the population and empowering the investors so that they can perform really very well, or they can utilize the financial sector services and benefits in an appropriate manner. Is this point clear? Okay, let's move on to the next point. Now the next point is, so who is going to be the chairman of this particular organization? So this particular organization, as I said, it is operating under Ministry of Corporate Affairs. It is the central government organization. Obviously it is headed by the individuals from the government directly. So obviously the members or the individuals from Ministry of Corporate Affairs, they are responsible for heading this particular organization. Is this point clear? The name of the head is not important. No one is going to ask you the name of the head. I hope this point is clear. Chalo ji. Moving on to the next news. What does the next news say? Achha, what kind of question can be asked? They can ask you, first question, very easy, Pune, Maharashtra. Where is the location? Second is they can ask you about IEPFA objective. Third is they can ask you about unclaimed dividend as well as matured debentures for which the funds have not received. And lastly, they can talk about in the examination regarding the special brochure which has been issued by NSDL, that is National Securities Depositories Limited, and the name of the brochure, that is Investors Guide to Claim Unclaimed Shares as well as Dividends. ठीक है जी, clear हो गया? चलो, let's move on to the next point. Here we go with the next news. The next news is very important. RBI has recently released data regarding the scheduled commercial bank deposits as well as scheduled commercial bank credit growth in India. So first of all, so where this update is available, if you want to check this update, you want to check this data, what you need to do is you open the RBI website. On the RBI website, click on publications. The moment you will click on publications, you will get n number of options. Then click on annual publication. Under the annual publication, you will find two publications. One is known as Basic Statistical Return 1, that is related to credit by scheduled commercial banks, and Basic Statistical Return 2, which is deposits with scheduled commercial banks. Before I start my discussion, scheduled commercial bank includes the banks. First condition, it includes the scheduled banks. What are scheduled banks? So those banks which are registered under second schedule of RBI Act 1934. So which all banks are registered under second schedule of RBI Act 1934? So the bank which was set up either as a company or a corporate, is eligible to be termed as, scheduled bank. But if you have set up a firm and you want that firm to be to receive a title of scheduled bank, that is not allowed. Second point is minimum reserves, or we call it as minimum public deposit fund received, that should be greater than 5 lakhs, and bank should fulfill the RBI norms. So the bank which follow these three conditions, we call that bank as scheduled bank, and RBI register those banks which follow these conditions as a scheduled bank under second schedule of RBI Act 1934. Remember that RBI provide banker service to scheduled banks only. That means RBI provide loan, accept surplus from scheduled banks only. To non-scheduled banks, RBI do not provide any kind of service. RBI do not provide any kind of advice. RBI do not act as a lender of last resort for non-scheduled banks. Once we are done with scheduled banks, what is the second condition? So the second point is commercial banks. What are commercial banks? So commercial banks are those banks which Commercial banks are those banks which possess defined partnership, which possess defined shareholding. Whenever a shareholding is defined, that bank can only be termed as commercial bank, which means the bank is registered as a company, not as a corporate society, because in the cooperative society, your ownership is not predefined. In case of cooperative society, liability is unlimited, unlike in a company where liability is limited up to a value of your shareholding. In case of commercial bank, this is a bank which is operating with the motive of earning profit, and profit is distributed among the shareholder as per their shareholding. Last but not the least is it is involved in public dealing. So which means in scheduled commercial banks we include public sector banks, SBI, PNB, all are included. Then we include private banks, even we include foreign banks, even we include regional rural banks, but cooperative banks, they are not included under the category of scheduled commercial banks, because they are termed as scheduled non-commercial banks, and scheduled non-commercial banks include cooperative banks, which include state cooperative banks, urban cooperative bank, district or central cooperative bank. So this means this particular data which we are going to share today, which we are going to discuss today, it is related only and only to these four categories of banks which are collectively termed as scheduled commercial bank. I hope, Roy, the point defined shareholding is clear now. क्योंकि अगर आपने कंपनी बनाई तो कंपनी में हमें पता है कि you are the 10% partner, you are the one is 20% shareholder. But in case of a cooperative society, the members of the cooperative society or the members of the organization which is registered under Cooperative Society Act, they are the members, but their ownership is not defined. They pool in their resources in order to initiate the operation, and these operations first cater the needs and demands of the members, and over the period of time, those services are provided to rest of the public as well. I hope it is clear. Now let's talk about the news. So what is this news all about? So the news is about a publication which is an annual publication presented by RBI. We call it as BSR. Which stands for Basic Statistical Return 1, Basic Statistical Return 2. So Basic Statistical Return 1 talks about credit, it talks about the loan which is provided by the bank, and 2 talks about the deposit which is accepted by the bank. So in this case, scheduled commercial bank data is being presented, and this data is available on the database. This data is available on the RBI's database on Indian Economy portal. So database on Indian Economy portal, this data is available. This is the first point, which is not much important. Yes, second point is really very important. The second point says, so what is the source of data? जो आप data discuss कर रहे हैं, what is the source of this particular data? So the publication provides the information on various characteristics of bank credit in India, which is based on the data submitted by scheduled commercial banks themselves. So what is the data source? So data source is scheduled commercial banks themselves. So scheduled commercial banks themselves, they update or they share their data with RBI. They share their data with RBI, and on the basis of this shared data, this document is presented, or on the basis of the shared data, this publication is presented, which include public sector banks, foreign banks, private banks, even the regional rural banks. In this information, which is shared by the scheduled commercial banks, it talks about the type of loan account, the organizations who are borrowing the funds, what is the occupation or the economic activity performed by the borrower, what is the category of the borrower, whether he or she or the entity falls under the category of prime lending, subprime lending, secured lending, unsecured lending, partially secured lending, all these terms. Then they also discuss or they also share the data on district and population group of the place of the utilization of credit, that how well the population or the district is utilizing the credit. Then they also discuss the rate of interest, means the lending rate. Rate of interest means the lending rate which is charged on the loan, and even the data is shared related to the credit limit. I hope you understand what is credit limit. So credit limit is basically it's a type of open loan. It's a type of open loan in which a limit is assigned to the borrower. For example, a limit of 10 lakh rupees is assigned on your name, and you can utilize this limit of 10 lakh rupees whenever required, but you will be paying the lending rate against the amount which you are utilizing. So it's a kind of 10 lakh rupees of amount which is available for you as per your utilization. The moment you withdraw the amount, let's say you have withdrawn 2 lakh rupees from the limit account, your limit account balance will show negative 2 lakhs, and for this 2 lakh you will be charged with the lending rate, and this lending rate will be charged on daily basis or per day basis. The moment you return this amount, the moment you deposit the funds, let's say after 3 days, the account balance will go to zero, and if the account balance is zero, that means no lending rate is charged. I repeat, lending rate. I'm not saying rate of interest. If deposit is zero, that means no loan. No loan means no lending rate. If the account balance is negative, that means you have borrowed a loan, and on the borrowing, lending rate is supposed to be paid. Done, guys? Clear? Last is what is they also share the data on amount outstanding. Outstanding amount means the outstanding amount against a particular loan which is provided. So basically, scheduled commercial banks, they share holistic data related to their loan accounts. They don't only share what are these loan accounts, they also share the data of the borrower. They even share the occupation of the borrower. They even share the category of the borrower, in which category the borrower falls. They even share the limit. If it is a limit account, they even share the information regarding the limit. They even share the outstanding amount. So this holistic data is shared. Holistic data is shared with the RBI, and on the basis of this holistic data, RBI arranged this data and present it in the form of basic statistical return 1 and 2, and this is an annual data which is presented. Is this point clear till now? Guys, keep on replying. Don't sleep. Wake up, everyone. Keep on replying if it is clear till this point. Moving on to the next news. Now moving on to the next point. The next point is, so what are the key highlights which we have to remember? See, in case of loan amount or loan account which is holded by the banks, what all information is important for you? So the first information which is important is bank credit growth. Bank credit growth. So if I talk about the bank credit growth, so bank credit growth was, or I would say is 11.1% for March 2025. For March 2025. So as per the data of March 2025, it has grown 11.1% on year-on-year basis. But last year this growth was 15.3%. Last year this growth was 15.3% on year-on-year basis. So मार्च 2024 के हिसाब से 2025 में, मार्च 2025 में जो क्रेडिट दिया गया है, जो लोन दिया गया है बाय scheduled commercial banks, it has grown by 11.1%. But last year, with respect to March 2023 till March 2024, there was an increase of 15.3%. तो इसका मतलब आज भी growth rate है. We have a positive growth rate, but this positive growth rate, or I would say credit is growing, the value of credit which is given by the banks is growing, but it is growing at a decreasing rate. पिछली बार increase हुआ 15.3% से, but this time it has increased by only 11.1%, which means the acceleration by which it is increasing, that is on the negative side. Last year increase था 15.3%, this year increase is 11.1%. Undoubtedly it has increased, but it has increased at a slow rate in comparison to the previous year, and that is the reason we use a word decelerated. That is the reason we use this term decelerated, which means bank credit growth decelerated to 11.1% in March 2025 which was 15.3% in the previous financial year. Now there is a term that is net of merger. So net of merger basically means when we take in account the data after merger as well. For example, a bank has been, or an NBFC has been merged into a bank, or two banks have been merged into one. So the data is on the basis of net of merger, the data after the merger. ठीक है जी. Moving on to the next point. If we talk about the credit growth, as I said, credit growth has decelerated. It has decelerated across all the bank groups. All the bank groups means it is decelerated for public sector bank, it has decelerated for private banks, it has decelerated for foreign banks, and even it has decelerated for the RRBs, that is regional rural banks. And the steepest decline has been recorded by whom? So the steepest decline has been recorded by private sector bank. So private sector bank has witnessed a growth of 9.5%, but this growth was above 15% for last 3 years. So पिछले 3 सालों से credit growth with the private sector banks was more than 15%, but last year for 2024 to 2025, this growth has been witnessed to just 9.5%. This data which I am marking out for you, these are really very important. याद करने होंगे. Yes, you have to learn these data. With higher credit growth in rural, semi-urban and urban areas compared to metropolitan areas, the share of metropolitan branches in total credit declined to 58.7% from 63.5% in the last 5 years. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ कि सर जो बैंक्स ने लोन दिया, if I take all the banks, जितने भी scheduled commercial banks हैं, I collect them and I frame only one bank for all those scheduled commercial banks. So the bank having its branches in metropolitan cities, they have given a total loan of 58.7%, and rest of the loan is given by the branches in rural areas, semi-urban areas as well as urban areas. So total credit is 58.7%, which was earlier 63.5%. Please pay attention and please check out the data. If you see the data, this is 11.1%. This is 11.1%, which means if we talk about the overall credit growth, so the overall credit growth is 11.1%, which was last year 15.1%. But on the other side, if I talk about the credit growth in case of personal loan, it is 13.2%. Credit growth in case of industrial loan, it is 9.4%. Credit growth in case of agriculture loan, it is 8.1%, and they all have declined. In comparison to the previous data, they all have declined. This is very important. Now, if I talk about the population group wise share, if you see the population group wise shares in 2025, out of the total loan, 58.7% of the loan is given to the metropolitan or given by the metropolitan bank branches. 17.8% loan is given by the urban branches, 14.3% loan is given by semi-urban, and 9.2% of loan out of in comparison to the total loan value is given by the rural branches. It's quite obvious कि भैया जो metropolitan areas है वहां पे लोन की डिमांड ज्यादा है और ज्यादा वैल्यू ऑफ लोन डिमांड किया जाता है, एंड इफ हाई वैल्यू ऑफ लोन इज डिमांडेड देन ऑब्वियसली द हाईएस्ट lending by the bank branches will be done undoubtedly in the metropolitan cities itself. ठीक है जी. Last but not the least is what? So the last point is personal loan. It has witnessed the highest growth and it has witnessed a growth of 13.2%. It has witnessed the highest growth and the growth of 13.2%. And if I talk about the share in case of total loan, 31% of the total loan value is personal loan. 31% of the total loan value is the personal loan. And on the other side, if I talk about the rest of the loans, so the rest of the loans, they include industrial loan, they include agriculture loan and extra. So if someone asks you, out of the total lending done by the banks, share the highest segment in which the lending is done. So the highest lending is done in which segment? So highest lending is done, or I would say the highest share in the overall loan is backed by, it is taken up by personal loan. So out of, अगर सारे के सारे शेड्यूल कमर्शियल बैंक्स ने इंडिया में 100 रुपए का लोन दिया तो उसमें से सबसे ज्यादा हिस्सा जो लोन का 31 रुपीज दैट विल गो फॉर पर्सनल लोन. द मोमेंट आई से पर्सनल लोन, व्हाट विल बी योर आंसर गाइस? हाउ यू डिफाइन दिस वर्ड पर्सनल लोन? पर्सनल लोन का क्या मतलब होता है? एनीवन कैन गिव मी द आंसर. सुना तो आपने होगा, पर्सनल लोन इज नॉट समथिंग वेरी न्यू. You might have heard this term n number of times. You might have heard this term n number of times. But what is this personal loan meaning? Why am I asking you? Sir, I'm asking you this because I have discussed this definition in the past as per some of the, we were discussing some of the, one of the RBI circular, and during that circular discussion itself, I talked about this term personal loan. So according to RBI, personal loan is the loan which is provided to the individual for various personal purposes, which include wedding, education, home renovation, whatnot. Generally, personal loans, I'll not say always, but generally, personal loans, they are the loans which are unsecured, but I'll not say that always they are unsecured. I'm not saying that they are always unsecured. ठीक है जी? So whenever the loan is borrowed for the general purpose by an individual, we call it as personal loan, or whenever a loan is borrowed by an individual for consumable goods, to purchase a consumable good, that is basically termed as what? Sir, it is basically termed as personal loan. ठीक है जी? Clear हो गया? समझ आ गया? तो highest share is with the personal loan, that is 31%. The share of home loan bearing interest rate more than 9% has decreased a lot, which shows that there is a decline in cost of housing loans. That is very true, because in February 2025, RBI has cut down the repo rate. In December 2024, RBI decreased the cash reserve ratio, and along with that, n number of RBI as well as government initiatives, government policies, government schemes, they have been taken up or they have been implemented in the past, which has resulted in decrease in overall home loan lending rates. And due to that, the home loan with lending rate greater than 9% has come down in comparison to the previous year data. So loan to industries accounted nearly 1/4. So which means industrial loan is almost 25% of the total loan. 25% of the total loan. And if I talk about the growth rate, sir, in case of industrial loan, the growth rate is 9.4%. In case of personal loan, growth rate is 13.2%. In case of agriculture loan, growth rate is 8.1%. Last point, the share of the individual. Here I'm saying personal loan, but if I say share of the individual means you and me, you are borrowing a loan in comparison to a loan borrowed by a firm or a company or a trust or any organization. So out of these two categories, highest loan is borrowed by obviously the individuals. So what is the individual share in the total loan? So the loan borrowed by individuals is 47.8% of the total loan, and rest of the loan is borrowed by the entities, which include everyone: firm, company, trust, organization, whatnot. And this also it has increased. This percentage is 47.8% today. It was 41.5% in March 2025. Again, data is very important. And out of these individuals which hold 47.8% of the total, 47.8% of the total lending. So these individuals include 23.8% females, 23.8% females, and rest 76.2% is the male. So this is male, this is female, out of 47.8% of the total loan accounts which have been provided by the scheduled commercial banks. Aditi, ध्यान से देखो, what I'm saying is, ये क्या है? Annual growth rate in bank credit. So last year, the growth rate was, let's say, I'm just taking an example, it was 16%. Last year here, the growth rate was 17%. For overall, it was 15.3%. For, let's say, agriculture, it is 10%. So what I'm trying to say, last year की growth rate थी 17%. इस बार जो ग्रोथ रेट है दैट हैज कम डाउन टू 13.2%. ग्रोथ रेट क्या होती है? ग्रोथ रेट मींस 2023, 2024, 2025. ठीक है. टोटल क्रेडिट पर्सनल लोन 100 increase to 115. What is the increase percentage? So that is 15%. And now it has increased by 11.1%. It has increased by 11.1%. अब 11.1% मैं मान रहा हूं, let's say it is 12, तो ये increase होके कितना हो गया? 127. So undoubtedly it is increasing, but the rate at which it is increasing, that rate is declining. Are you getting my point? This rate is declining. ये समझ आया? Aditi, I was very okay, or I was expecting this kind of doubt, but I hope now it is clear. And if it is clear, give me yes sir. If it is clear, give me yes sir. चलो अब बात करते हैं आगे. अगला जो हमारे पास पॉइंट है दैट इज रिलेटेड टू डिपॉजिट्स. द मोमेंट आई टॉक अबाउट डिपॉजिट्स, सो डिपॉजिट्स विद द शेड्यूल्ड कमर्शियल बैंक्स. सो हियर आल्सो द एंटायर डेटा is presented by the scheduled commercial banks only. They have themselves provided the data, and this data is provided for branch wise. That means branch wise data दिया गया जिसमें ये बताया गया what are the different types of deposit, current account, saving account, term account कितने हैं. Then sector wise ownership deposit accounts की how many accounts are owned by IT industries, how many accounts are owned by education industries, like this. Then age wise distribution for the individual account holders, maturity pattern of the term deposit, that what is the average maturity of term deposit, and as well as the number of accounts opened by the employees. Not only this, it also released the data that what are the different types of deposit, what are the population groups. The moment we use this word population group is the criteria used for, basic statistical return. It is the criteria used for, please pay attention on the screen, this is very important. It is the criteria used for basic statistical return, and it is based on population size of respective branch as per census 2011, where the branches of scheduled commercial banks are operating and classified as. So branch is operating in rural area, it will be termed as rural branch if population size is less than 10,000, semi-urban 10,000 to 1 lakh, urban 1 lakh to 10 lakh, and metropolitan branch is the branch with population or set up in an area, branch which is set up in an area which has a population of more than 10 lakhs. ठीक है जी. Coming back to the point, तो types of deposit accounts, population group कि भैया rural branches ने कितना deposit accept किया, semi-urban, urban, metropolitan branches ने कितना deposit accept किया. Bank groups, bank group means what is the total value of deposits with public sector banks, what is the total value of deposit with private banks alone. Then किस स्टेट में, किस डिस्ट्रिक्ट में सबसे ज्यादा डिपॉजिट, किस ब्रांच में सबसे ज्यादा डिपॉजिट, व्हाट इज द इंटरेस्ट रेट on an average paid to the depositors, what is the size of the deposit on an average, original and residual maturity of the accounts. This is what is going to be discussed. Now, सबसे पहला point from where I would start my discussion, guys, I would start my discussion with a question to you all. I hope you all know that we have a term, we call it as CASA deposit, current account, saving account. And we have a term, we call it as Rafa deposit. Hana? What is Rafa deposit? So Rafa deposit is basically recurring account and fixed account. So this is basically your demand deposit, This is basically your term deposit. Now, if I ask you a question, very simple question. If you are running a bank, for you, what is beneficial? CASA deposit or Rafa deposit? If you are running a bank and you want to receive the deposits, then you want to provide it on loan in order to earn NIM, that is net interest margin or net interest income. Out of the two, which deposit is going to be favorable for you? Which one? Any idea? Okay. Why you are saying Rafa deposit? You are using this word Rafa deposit because it is stable. Why it is stable? Because when a Rafa deposit is opened, it basically means it's a recurring account or a fixed deposit account which comes up with a predefined, which is opened with a predefined maturity. Predefined maturity means कि भैया 5 साल 10 साल के लिए ये अकाउंट होल्ड होगा विद द बैंक्स. इसकी जो मेच्योरिटी है दैट कैन बी इन अ रेंज ऑफ 7 days to 10 years, है ना, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. बट in case of CASA, that is saving account, current account, sir, it is demand deposit. And demand deposit ये क्या होता है सर? It is highly volatile in nature. जब आपका मन किया आपने पैसा विड्रॉ कर लिया. आज चेतन ने, अभिनव ने, टीना ने, काजल ने, शिवांगी ने अपने अकाउंट में पैसे डिपॉजिट किए. They use the ATM to withdraw the funds. So this is really volatile. And if I am running a bank, guys, if I am running a bank, in my case, I accept the deposits. Obviously, I will be using this deposit to provide it on loan. And if I have provided the loan for 5 years or 10 years, and I have a deposit, majority of my deposit is in demand deposit, which is very volatile in nature, then I may end up in a situation. I may end up in a situation which we can call it as what? I may end up in a situation which can be termed as, what? So which can be termed as liquidity crisis. I can end up in a situation which can be easily termed as liquidity crisis. So in order to avoid that, obviously every bank will prefer Rafa over CASA. Rafa over CASA. This is correct with respect to volatility. I agree to this point. But on the other side, if I talk about rate of interest paid by bank, so rate of interest paid by bank in case of Rafa is greater than, obviously it is greater than CASA, because in case of current account it can be 0, in case of saving account it is very low, but in case of Rafa, rate of deposit is very high. So in this particular case, what will happen? So due to this, net interest margin will be low in case of term deposit in comparison to net interest margin in case of demand deposit. I hope you know what is net interest margin. So net interest margin basically means deposit loan. It is average rate of interest which you pay on deposit. This is average lending rate which you receive on loan. The difference between the two is NIM, net interest margin. मान लो आपका average rate of interest सबको मिलाकर मैंने weighted average ले लिया, depending upon the weightage of the deposit is 5%. मैंने weighted lending rate ले लिया, let's say 12%. तो दोनों का जो difference है that is 7%. We call it as what? So we call it as NIM, net interest margin. तो मेरा जो net interest margin है that will be high in case of CASA in comparison to Rafa, because rate of interest on CASA is very low. So in that particular case, we prefer CASA over Rafa. We prefer CASA over Rafa because of profitability. So in this particular case, I would say, sir, CASA is also important, Rafa is also important, and obviously bank will try to maintain its deposit in term deposit form as well as in demand deposit form, but obviously bank will try to maintain term deposit greater than greater than demand deposit, but that doesn't mean this difference is going to be very high. This difference is tried to maintain in a minimum scenario as per, I'll say, as per the economist. They say if a bank is having a term deposit in a range 50 to 70% of total deposit, that is 50 to 70% of total deposit, that is a good deposit. That is a good deposit scenario or good deposit distribution for a bank. That is a good deposit distribution for a bank. समझ आ गई कहानी? Clear हो गया? Now, on this basis itself, if I tell you for the scheduled commercial banks, highest deposits is in the form of term deposit only. Highest deposit is in the form of term deposits only. So right now, today we have 59.5% of total deposit is in the form of term deposit. Then if I talk about savings account, the share of saving deposits, it is 29.1%. Share of saving deposit is 29.1%. And then if I talk about current account, in case of current account, it is 9.8%. It is 9.8%. And rest we have the other accounts which can be termed as hybrid account, which have the features of both. They have the feature of term deposit as well as demand deposit. We can call them as flexi accounts and whatnot. ठीक है जी? ठीक है? Clear हो गया? So this is the current criteria for total deposits. Chalo, now let's quickly check out the data. Bank deposit has witnessed a growth, and this growth is 10.6%. Last year the growth was 13%. तो growth in terms of deposit भी कम हुई है, growth in terms of lending भी कम हुई है for the banks. Household sector accounted for the largest share of the scheduled commercial banks. So in case of scheduled commercial banks, total deposit, it comes from, so total deposit comes from household. Total deposit comes from household, that is individuals. As we know that highest share in terms of borrowing is with the individual. Similarly, highest deposit is done by the household only. And in case of household also, if I talk about the female share, so the female share is 20.7%. In case of loan, in case of credit accounts, female share was 23.8, but in case of deposit account, female share is 20.7%. Now these are two charts which we are going to discuss. The first chart, I'll just remove my image. The first chart shows us that out of 100%, 59.5% is the share of term deposit. As I said, 29.1% is the share of savings account, and 9.8% is the share of current account. So these are the shares as I have already written on the screen: 59.5, 29.1 and 9.8. On the other side, if we talk about the growth, so the growth overall, year on year basis, the growth is 10.6%. This is the overall growth, 10.6%, which you need to remember. Household share as well as female share in the deposits, it is clear. Moving on to the next point, in branch-wise format, in case of branch-wise format, we know that what is a metropolitan branch now. So metropolitan branch, it is a branch which is set up in an area which possesses a population of more than 10 lakhs. So for the metropolitan area recorded, or area branch recorded a growth of 11.7% in terms of deposits. Then rural area witnessed a growth of 10.1%. Semi-urban branches witnessed a growth of 8.9%, and urban centers, they have witnessed a growth of 9.3%. If you see this, this is 20.7%. This is for female, which you need to remember. Okay, ji? Moving on to the next. So term deposit, largest share of the total deposit, and what is that share? 59.5%. 68.4% of the total demand deposits include the demand deposits which are going to mature in a time span of 1 to 4 years. Share of term deposit with interest 7% and above is 72.7%. That means out of term deposit, out of total term deposit, for 72.7% of the total term deposit, interest rate is greater than 7%. Interest rate is greater than 7%, which was 64.2% last year, and last year it was only 33.5%. Last point says the share of the term deposit of principal value more than 1 crore. Earlier they were termed as bulk deposits if the deposit is more than 1 crore, but now bulk deposit is the term given if your deposit value is greater than 3 crores. But if your deposit is, or if I talk about the deposit of more than 1 crore, this percentage out of the total term deposit account is 45.1%, which was earlier 43.7%. तो अगर मैं कहूँ ये मेरे total term deposit accounts हैं, इन टोटल टर्म डिपॉजिट अकाउंट्स में से 72.7% अकाउंट्स ऐसे हैं जिन पे इंटरेस्ट रेट 7% से ज्यादा, और 45.1% अकाउंट ऐसे हैं जिनका डिपॉजिट 1 करोड़ से ज्यादा, जिनका डिपॉजिट 1 करोड़ से ज्यादा. Moving on to the next point, if I talk about the share of saving deposits, it has declined to 29.1%. Current account का जो share है that is almost the same. Last year it was 9.8, this time also it is 9.8%. Last but not the least, this is very important, senior citizen 20.2%. See guys, if you ask me, then I would say current year data is very important. Current year data is important, plus trend is important. Trend is important means you should know that whether it has increased with respect to the previous data or not. बस अदिति आप एक तो इस बार के डेटा याद कर लो और पिछले साल के मुकाबले सेविंग डिपॉजिट्स का शेयर कम हुआ है, एंड व्हाट इज द करंट शेयर 29.1%. You can leave 30.8, but you should know the trend that yes, the share of saving deposits has decreased. You know the trend that the share of current account deposit is same, and the value for this year is, or the share for this year is 9.8% of the total deposit. That is what you need to remember. ठीक है जी, clear हो गया point, समझ आ गया. Let's move on to the next point. The next news I have is UPI reaches to a new milestone in May 2025. I'll not take much time of yours. It's a data which is important for phase 1, and you can utilize this data while writing a descriptive answer. So NPCI has come up with the data which says that total volume and total value of UPI has reached to new heights, in the month of May 2025. What is the data? Sir, in the May we have recorded 18.68 billion transactions with a value of 25.14 trillion, that is 10 to the power 6, 9, 12. So that is 25.14 lakh crore rupees. Month on month, there is a growth of 4% in volume and 5% in value. So volume में इस बार growth कम हुआ है. Volume growth is only 4% month on month, but value growth is 5%. But we know that in April, UPI rates or UPI data was pretty low because of n number of issues, because of the technical issues as well, जो हमने discuss किया था. Remember that year on year basis, volume has increased by 33% and value has increased by 23%. So it has broke the previous record. So previous record was set in the month of March 2025 when total transactions were 18.3 billion, worth was 24.77, but now total transactions are 18.68 billion and total value of transaction is 25.14 trillion, that is 25.14 lakh crores, and 18.68 means 1868 crore transactions. 1868 crore transactions. This is what you need to remember. ठीक है जी. This is the only thing which you need to remember with respect to UPI. उसके साथ साथ I have given you the data for IMPS. In case of IMPS, there is a change. 464 million transactions have been done in May 2025, which has increased with respect to the data of April, which was 449 million transactions. Rest, nothing else is important. तो मैंने IMPS की transactions का थोड़ा डिटेल दे दी, फास्टैग की transaction का डिटेल दे दिया, which you can use if required while writing a descriptive answer. But if you ask me a question अगर कोई आएगा objective, so that will be asked from UPI only, and this data will help you in descriptive as well. This data will help you in descriptive as well. Done हो गया जी. चलो, moving on to the next news. The next news is related to digital payment fraud data is not alarming. I don't know whether you go through with the political news or not, but there was a statement given by one of the Congress leader, which stated that after the introduction of these digital platforms and number of digital payments, after the promotion of digital payments done by the Indian government, they said that there has been a total fraud of around 6.83 lakh crore rupees, 6.83 lakh crore rupees in the past. So when this statement was given, which was an unofficial statement, which said that around 6.83 lakh crore funds have been lost due to digital payment frauds. So in order to answer this particular question, then in that particular case, NDA government came in front, and the ministry, the responsible minister, come up with the data, and he or she has shared the data which is available now in front of you. It says that digital payment fraud data which is revealed in Parliament this year is not alarming and should not be conflated with other types of banking frauds that do not affect the public. So they says whenever we talk about digital payment fraud, we talk about only those digital payments which are related with the, or which affect public. We do not include all the banking frauds, especially those frauds which do not impact the public. First statement, this was given. Second statement, they says the total number of digital payment fraud reported in last 10 years, digital payment frauds reported in last 10 years is 63,315 cases. And if we talk about the total loss, in these frauds is 733 crore rupees. But rather than 6.83 lakh crores, the loss is only 733.26 crore. But there is a condition. What is the condition? So these digital payment frauds, they are recorded. These are the records which are reported by the commercial banks as well as financial institutions related to digital payment frauds, which are related to either card related fraud, that means you have your debit card, credit card related fraud, or internet services fraud, or digital payment fraud, and it has taken into account only those frauds which were of value at least 1 lakh rupees. So what are the conditions? Card related frauds, internet banking related frauds, digital payment related frauds, and in case of every fraud the value lost is greater than 1 lakh, then these two conditions are fulfilled. If these two conditions are fulfilled, then the number of complaints is 63,000 and the amount which is lost under this combination is 733 crore rupees. Finance Ministry, RBI as well as NPCI, they have rolled out several crucial measures to secure digital financial transaction and to combat frauds. RBI issued norms on digital payment security controls in February 2021, which has asked banks to implement common minimum standards of security controls for various payment channels like internet banking, mobile banking, card payment, where we have two-step authorization and whatnot. So this data is important. This clause is important, and it talks about only those digital payment frauds with related to the banks. First is digital payment frauds related to banks. Third is impacting public only, which have affected public only. So in that particular case, we have 63,315 cases with a loss of 733.26 crore. But these number of cases recorded, which is 63,315 cases. I'm saying crore again and again. I'm sorry for that. So what are the number of cases? 63,315 cases. What is the value of loss? That is 733.26 crores. This is the loss value. But this loss value is against a combination. What is the combination? So firstly, fraud is related to either card, internet or digital payment, and the fraud value or the loss value in that fraud is greater than 2 lakhs. When both these conditions are fulfilled, then we include that fraud in our listing, and total listing is 63,315 and total loss is 733.26 crore rupees. If this point is clear, give me yes sir, so that we can conclude the discussion. But before I conclude, I have a homework for you. And my homework for you all is done. Okay. My homework for you all is, so whenever we talk about these kind of frauds, digital payment related complaints. If you are a customer, if you have any digital payment related complaint, you will be filing this complaint to banking ombudsman or NBFC ombudsman or ombudsman scheme for digital payment or integrated ombudsman. After giving your answer integrated ombudsman or something like that, give me the answer why. So type the answer why. Your option is A, B, C or D. What I mean with the term why? So why basically means write short note on correct option. So whatsoever is the correct option of this particular question, you must write a short note which is of 3 marks. You know that RBI comes up with a question where they say write a short note on, and they give 5 options. You have to write short note on all the 5 options which are given. So you need to give me the answer, which ombudsman scheme, and whichever ombudsman scheme is the correct answer, you need to write a short note. And please share your answers in the comment below, and I will be giving the feedback for your shared answers in the comment section itself. I will be giving you the feedback in the comment section itself. If you haven't liked the session yet, before leaving the session, do hit the like button so that we can conclude the discussion and I can catch you all in the next session to go. And this Sunday, be ready. We will be having annual statement part 2. Annual report of RBI part 2. If you haven't liked the session yet, do hit the like button. Before leaving, we'll catch you soon. Bye-bye. Take care. Good luck. God bless you all.